I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We do have one agenda change, council. We will not have a first reading on, under new business 9A. We will not have a first reading on a ordinance change there. If we have a first reading, we can't, what I'd like to do is have a discussion when we get to that part of the agenda. So I'd like to dispense with the first reading and maybe do it for the next council meeting. But I want to be free to talk, and we will have Chief Hastings and City Administrator Austin be the lead on that. And we are ready for communications from the public. Those that are city residents speak first.
We got a request from a resident for assistance.
My name is Jim Griffin. I've probably lived here longer than most of you are old. I've seen councils come, mayors come, police chiefs come and go. I've addressed this one issue several times. I got an email that said it had been discussed with me. It's never really been discussed. I did the talking, they did the listening, and what they said was, we'll take it under consideration or under advisement. Well, 8-9 months go by and they're still taking it under advisement. So what I want to say tonight is, you people adopt the laws, make the laws, and all that. But I've complained and complained. Not one time has anyone said, I didn't read the law right. They just get to do as they want to. Now, either the law is the law for you and me and these people, or it's not. So, instead of sitting wasting your time and me getting cut short, I printed out copies here for anybody in the room that would like a copy of what my complaint's about. And I have one challenge. I would challenge any one of the councilmen, the police chief, anybody, to take a ride with me. Let's drive down the road. Let's see how many violations you see of your own code and ordinances, and I'll write down the ones I see. It just appears to me that you make the laws, but you don't do anything about it. Now, I will say one thing. I want to give credit to the new code officer. He is doing a great job, but he's handicapped. It just seems like the way your laws are written, it just goes in a circle. Doesn't get much accomplished. Now tonight, one of the things is that I never brought up is your noxious weed. You have a log in it. 2 houses down in the alley, they're growing all over the dang road. I can take you for a ride down the sidewalks, pucker weeds, goat heads, what do you want to call them? It's growing all over the sidewalk. It's your laws, not mine. So I would like to see somebody do something about it. And luckily, last Friday I was sitting on Burn Street facing south. I almost saw a woman getting hit, putting in cardboard in a dumpster that I've been complaining about, where people have to stop in the travel portion of the roadway. Now it doesn't matter if they stop there 30 seconds or 5 minutes. The law says you can't stop, stand, or obstruct the roadway, and you have to have 10 feet from the center line for travel. The same thing on the other side. I did talk with the public works director. He brought it up, not me. I was telling him how they parked on Ash Street at the park. He said, is it marked? I never brought that up. He brought it up. Now you come up with the fact that it don't warrant marking. That's not all I got to say. I give a copy to Steve, he can print you off a copy, because I've talked to you all about it. But I have a copy here, if anybody in the audience would like a copy of what I'm complaining about, that the city council is not what you do, it's what you're not doing. That's about it.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Okay, I am Doreen Kramer. I live on 4th Street in Clarkston. I own a home there. Anyway, sometimes it feels like the rule of government goes too slow, and sometimes us citizens get very frustrated. But I'm not here to say very much other than last night I was driving over by St. Vincent's around 4 or 5 p.m. It was awfully hot yesterday. And you know the libraries on Sunday are totally closed and those people didn't have any air condition. Well, I don't want to make it so comfortable for them in some ways, because then they're just going to keep doing their thing and living in the park. But I do pray for them and wish, that they would be able to change and want to change. And sometimes they have to hit rock bottom to do so. But my main thing right now, if I didn't call the police about the guy sleeping on the table right up against St. Vincent's here in Clarkston. I was busy running from to and fro. But right now I want to say, number one, I really appreciate the police here in town. I know they have to go by rules, and I know you can't just throw so many people, according to the rules, inside a cell. And it costs money to put people in a cell just for minor fractions, because you have to pay for their medical, you have to pay for their food, you have to subsidize them while they're in there. So I understand that. I also want to thank very much for the city council and what they have done. And last time I was frustrated, and I really appreciate you guys. And I'm seeing the wheels starting to crank, because I have been watching Foster Park, been told about there has been arrest by this man that has been hired to enforce things. And this is a good thing. We don't want those kind of people in our town, who have warrants on them or whatnot. So anyway, I praise you guys, and I'm hoping the wheels can turn a little bit faster for us people who want to see it turn over. And I'm praying that we can get this to where we don't have to be afraid of what we do or how we do it, but to get this problem solved about Foster Park and everything. But I thank you all, especially the police. Thank you.
Ordinance number 1709, the addition to that ordinance. And who wants to go first?
So I think everybody has a copy of the ordinance in front of them. Brought it to public safety on Wednesday and discussed it there. I need to tell you that everything in the ordinance has been approved by City Attorney Todd Richardson. He's reviewed it, approved it. The idea is that the officers are using all the tools they have to try to keep all the parks safe for the neighbors, the community, the people that are camping there. And it's very difficult when you don't have any jail space. We have misdemeanor crimes going on in the parks. We're unable to bring those people or hold them accountable. And it appears that when you allow them to just continue to be in the park after they commit a crime, they feel empowered to keep doing the same things over and over again. And so the city attorney was presented with this ordinance. He was in favor of it, felt like it's something that we could do at this time. It's a step towards a more permanent solution. A few of the highlights, the things that I like about it is that it applies to all parks and anybody in the park. It's just not one single problem or one park. Anybody that commits a crime or park violations, they can be subject to exclusion from all parks. And I think that's important to have all the parks listed, because We don't want to have a crime and then simply move the problem somewhere else. What have we accomplished there? So violations of this in one part, the person that did that could be excluded from all parts. They're listed in there. You will see under 3A, how the exclusions work. The first exclusion, or the first exclusion can be up to 10 days. There's a little bit of discretion there based on maybe what the crime is, or the park violation is. After that first violation, though, the ordinance is designed so that the discretion goes away, and the person committing subsequent crimes that's shown a pattern of disregarding the rules will be subject to 20 days on their second violation, 30 days on their third, and then maybe up to a year on the fourth. There is an appeal process. Everything has to have an appeal. So somebody that is hit with an exclusion can appeal to the police chief. They have 10 days to do that. If they choose to do that, they get a stay on the exclusion until the police chief or his designee has heard the appeal and makes a decision. So I think those are the highlights for me, Steve.
And as you're aware, the city attorney is out for this meeting, and so that kind of led into what the mayor had announced for us having a discussion instead of a first reading. Everything here has passed. We've also talked with, and it passed through City Attorney Todd Richardson, and then also we have forwarded that on to the other legal advisors that we have. And everyone thought that it was important to have a open and frank discussion about this for council to be able to understand all the components of it, to be able to discuss that. And as you know, when we do a first reading, there is no discussion. And so being able to have this open public, or this open meeting with these comments by the council to be able to review this, we think is going to do a lot to keep it transparent and let everybody know what we're doing here. The language that's in here, a lot of it was actually proposed initially when we looked at Ordinance 1706 and its passage. However, with the pending, or not the pending, but the current cases that were at the Washington Supreme Court as well as the federal Supreme Court, it was determined by the city attorney at that time to try to work through the courts with the judge to help facilitate some of this. As you're aware, there's been some changes in that process, and so we're trying to update and keep relevant with the needs of right now. So we believe that we have a good handle on a lot of this language. Todd, I think we'll probably do one more review of it to make sure there's no things that were missed or need to be added to be returned, that we should be able to proceed accordingly and make, as Chief AC said, this is not singling out any one group or any one type of issue that would create an infraction or a citation, but it's a comprehensive plan that covers all the parks and anybody who violates any of the rules of the park. And as of such, this is actually being added to the city code for the park ordinance. Is not just specific to the ordinance 1706.
Any questions, council?
I just have a question, but thank you for putting the work into this and bringing this to us, really appreciate it. Just a question, it looks like there would be an escalation to criminal trespass to the second degree. Is that, at what point they just keep violating and returning to the parks?
So during an exclusion, we'll say that somebody committed a crime and they were excluded from the park for 10 days. If they come back in that 10-day period, they're trespassing. So they could be cited or arrested for that violation.
Okay. And I just have one more question, and I'll turn it over to you guys. It looks like, just curiosity, when somebody fills out the appeal, they have to set forth a name and address, and then we're gonna mail them a decision. Is there a recommendation on, I mean, is there an address for some of these people, or how do we sort that? Or do we?
Well, we discussed that with Todd, and he has some experience with this.
It's really a legal construct of, official notification that has to do the same way. If we notify people officially, we have to put it in the newspaper of record. It's kind of along that same line that we had discussed with Attorney Richardson at that time. The biggest thing is that's really the backup for making sure that they know this information. And it's the police department and the officers there that are gonna make sure the first line is, personal service or personal delivery. And then this is kind of like that backup, making sure that there's actual legal delivery. Is that kind of what Todd was saying, I think?
That's what I think. We understand that people that are unhoused can get post office boxes or general delivery. And the post office is within walking distance.
Okay. Great, thanks for explaining that, appreciate it.
The way I understand it, there's kind of a pecking order, especially at Foster Park. And I think this is a good start to kind of weed out the troublemakers, the bullies, for now. I mean, we want to even improve on it later, but no, I think it's a good idea.
So after they get the exclusion citation, it says any and all of the parts of the city or on the pedestrian or public ways immediately adjacent thereto. So that means everything around the perimeter of each of the parks.
So, it would be the sidewalk or the area directly next to the park, and of course the roadway would not include the opposite side of the road.
Okay.
I understand.
And for clarification, for the criminal trespass, the second degree, there's just more of a record for everybody here. What's the punishment for criminal trespassing?
Well, it's a misdemeanor crime, punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine. It's a misdemeanor.
That's all good.
I've got a quick question, because this is a discussion and not necessarily a first reading. Will this still take effect on August? Well, I think so.
Yeah, this was just a draft. In talking with the city attorney, there was some unavailability of our legal counsel that is, we're consulting with for the current lawsuit. We determined it would be easier to have it in a draft form, that if we were able to pass it with all of these meetings, that it would be easier to have that in there without this no. There's no intention to make this an emergency ordinance that goes into effect. We want to make sure that we are following every process on this so that we are completely correct.
So for record, when would be the soonest this will pass? If everything goes?
August 26th, I believe.
Okay.
Unless there were to be a special meeting before that time for some other reason.
Any other questions, council?
Yeah, okay, first, people have numerous citations already. When we enact this, I mean, does somebody with 12 citations, are they already facing the year expulsion, or are we just starting fresh with when this goes into effect?
Not quite sure.
So there's people over there with multiple citations. They've already would have earned their year expulsion. So we enact this law, are we just starting fresh with their citations, or?
Correct. No, we can't go back before the ordinance existed. The exclusions would only start once you pass the ordinance.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then, so with the second degree criminal trespass, what can we do to stop people from just piling them up? Like, what's stopping a guy from going back and getting his fourth one of the day?
Well, the intention will be to work with jail and try to make that a priority. Obviously, there isn't a lot of jail space.
Yeah.
That's coming, we're getting closer, it looks like February, the new jail will open. That seems to be a fairly solid date now, but between now and then, I think that we would try to make those trespassing citations for violation of the exclusion a real priority.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, I mean, we talked about this in public safety on Wednesday, and I agree with Russ. I think it's a great first step and a start on some accountability. It's a good first move.
We don't have to go through the courts, it expedites the whole process. So, and we have the ability to do that to some degree, so. Any other questions, council?
I just on your appeals process, can you just give me some clarity on how that's gonna work? Like, they filed an appeal, their suspension from the park is stayed, and then it comes down to the police chief making the decision on that expulsion, and then I guess, does it stop there? Do they have, can they appeal to a court? What it?
Correct. So, yeah, the first appeal would be to the police chief or his designee. And in the ordinance, there's some language about how that would work.
Yeah.
However, there always is an appeal to an appeal.
Yeah.
And it could be removed to municipal court. So if the individual doesn't like the police chief's decision, they can choose to remove it to municipal court. However, from what I understand in my discussions with Steve and Todd, that the stay wouldn't exist after the police chief's decision.
Okay.
So they could appeal it to municipal court, which can take a long time. That's a long process. But the stay at the park would not continue.
Okay.
That would end after the police chief makes his decision.
It's just how it's worded in here.
Yes, that's
Okay.
how it will be worded.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, council? No?
I guess my only comment is, it's just, I know this could end up in a bit of a cycle with some of these people and create some increased workload. So thank you for being willing to step up and take this on and kind of push this forward. But I appreciate all that you're doing and your team.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other comments, we're ready for council comments. Personal comments. Then? Questions from the press? No. All right, we have no executive session, so there being no further business before the council, I say we are adjourned.